that they were able to do so, and we'll speak more about that. The airspace above this very Capitol and above the White House, the Supreme Court, and all the monuments that you've enjoyed as you've come to Washington, D.C., or as you work here, the symbols of our republic, is closely watched over by the FAA. Their air traffic controllers and managers who have sworn an oath, unlike people in private companies, they don't swear oaths, excuse me. Employees of private corporations do not take oaths, nor do they promise to defend against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Privatizing the U.S. air traffic control system will not enhance our country's national security. Unfortunately, the national security role that FAA controllers and managers perform every day is not well known, even among members here. But one could list a number of functions that our government performs where we do have a vested interest, the people, in saying we give this authority, we the people, to the government because we can't do this as individuals. The federal government does have a role. So is it about modernization or is it about privatization? We're all in agreement on modernization, but privatization, I'm afraid, Mr. Speaker, that a lot of us are like a pack of dogs lapping up antifreeze. It smells good. It might even taste good, but it's not without drastic consequence. Just this week, we narrowly missed having to vote on this bill in its current form next week. And this is why we're bringing these points out, so that we do not make this grave mistake that will broach our national security. Well-meaning people, friends, colleagues, people with just as much passion as I may have, but yet we, the people, have to take a step back and protect our national security. There's also in H.R. 2997 no provisions to prohibit in this private corporation foreign nationals working in it. Today, if you're going to be an air traffic controller, you have to be a United States citizen. You have to take an oath of office. Under a private corporation or who they subcontract with for air traffic control, this bill, were it to become law, and it cannot, we must prevent it, what would happen is there's no prohibitions in that law against foreign nationals guiding your skies or taking an oath of office where they're as committed to our republic, Mr. Speaker, as any of us with the oaths that we have to take. Thank you. So the national security concerns are paramount. Until we address them, we should not rush in. We want modernization. I applaud the President of the United States for wanting to bring this issue to the light of the public. We need modernization. We agree with that. In fact, just knowing that we have his support to move towards a modernized plan gives us great comfort, because we need that backing from the executive. But we have to address these national security issues. And right now, this does not do that. Even if it did address all of these, there's still a question that remains. Has the government demonstrated that it cannot control the skies, and that the FAA's air traffic control system and its controllers are incapable of keeping us safe? I can see if it's something that's broken and we have to intervene as government and make sure it's more efficient and we have to do the right thing. But in this case, where is all of this brokenness that we're hearing about? Sure, archaic equipment, been there and done that, serving in the military. As you heard Chairman Thornberry say today, half of the Air Force's aircraft would qualify for antique license if they were civilian aircraft and registered in West Virginia. As a soldier, I live by the motto, I'll fight with what I have and I'll win where I fight. Whether it's with flintlocks, hatchets, or modern rifles, or modern technology, Poor is the workman who blames his tools. And our FAA air traffic controllers do a marvelous job with the systems they have. That's why almost a decade ago, we worked towards the next generation system to modernize, and it is on track with procured funding like NASA has, because it's expensive stuff and it takes time, and so you don't want that subject to funding problems. The FAA as a whole has those funding problems. You have a continued resolution or a government shutdown like in 2013, wow, that creates ripples. But if it's about modernization of our control towers, it is on track. For the pilots that we might have, and I know, Mr. Speaker, you have put yourself at the wheel of planes, and in this case, there are a lot of things that we can see where the FAA does a marvelous job. Doesn't mean that we have to privatize it. On 9/11, over 4,000 planes were grounded immediately and safely. What a lot of Americans don't know, Mr. Speaker, is that the FAA's National Operations Manager who made that unprecedented gutsy call, he was a government employee, you know, one of those bloated government employees we got to fire, move out. His name was Bill Sliney. And guess what? That was his first day on the job as the FAA's National Operations Manager. Wow, what a first day. But he was good. He'd taken an oath to the Republic. He made a gutsy call, 4,000 planes put on the ground, and it helped keep our Republic safer because it could have been worse. The FAA has clearly demonstrated through its air traffic control system that it can handle the job. When was the last time we can remember a fatal accident with a carrier, a major carrier? 2009, and that was a regional carrier. But also in 2009, there was something else that happened. On the 15th of January, 1 month before the fatal accident in February in Buffalo, New York with the regional carrier, which was the last time we had a major fatal accident. And that was U.S. Air Flight 320, piloted by Captain Chesley Sullenberger and co-piloted by Rick Skiles. And so what we've seen and what we all know is that the heroism of those two pilots that day put the plane down in the Hudson, saving all on board. And we saw air traffic controllers doing everything with an emergency of one of the busiest airports, providing so many options. Well, Mr. Sullenberger, like so many of us, has concerns with H.R. 2997. This is not a man that has any government interest or privatization, this or that, or is up here lobbying or doing anything. So, but yet he's somebody America trusts. You might be interested in some of his comments, and I'm quoting Captain Sully here. He says, "My real issue, and I think for many people, is that we have a wonderful and unique freedom in this country, this unfettered, wonderful aviation system that anyone can participate in safely and efficiently. In most countries, it's either too restrictive or too expensive for an average person to fly. And the only way you can go is on an airline or a military flight, meaning other nations. It's just prohibitively restrictive or expensive to do it any other way. That's something we need to protect and preserve. And so why in the world would we want to give the keys of the kingdom to the largest airlines under this H.R. 2997 he's referring to? Because they definitely have their own agenda to lower their costs. Commercial aviation, airline aviation, has become an extraordinarily cost-competitive industry globally, and it becomes more so day by day. By removing oversight in the air traffic control system from the FAA and much of the oversight that Congress currently has," Mr. Sullenberger goes on to state, "and giving it to a group of people, stakeholders, basically controlled by the largest airlines, to control access to and pricing of access to the air traffic control system, that's an extreme solution to what's really a political budget problem." Captain Sully goes on to say, "It means bad things for everyone